Hello everyone, welcome to my stop on the Honest Craft Roomies blog hop. Well, I guess it's not a blog. The Honest Craft Roomies hop tonight. I am Kitty Wilkin from Night Quilter, and if I move this you can see my blog right down there. Here is the schedule for tonight. I'll just get you started and then we'll begin. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Here we go. Hi. Hello. Hello to those who have joined us on previous weeks, and hello to those of you who are new. This is the Honest Craft Roomies. We hop around from person to person on Periscope and talk about different topics that interest us and that we think are worth discussing in the quilting community. And tonight, hi everyone, we are talking about quilting community. Now this topic is one that is so, hi Yvonne, good to see you too, that is really, really important to me because, hey Becca, I live in rural Maine. I'm the mom of 3 little kids, one of whom is 4 months old and sick, so I might have to run out and get him if he wakes up. But because of my location, and the fact that I have little kids who are still nursing and need me constantly, it really limits my ability to travel to actual in-person meetups. So in terms of quilt guilds, the nearest modern quilt guild meets about a 2.5-hour drive from me, which makes it really not really possible for me to go, unfortunately. I have been to one meeting where they met an hour and a half away, and it was for a color class at a local quilt shop, which for me local is an hour and a half. It is. It's quite a ways away, but I really yearn for that person-to-person connection, and especially as a stay-home mom, a full-time mom, that adult interaction and the time when I'm talking to someone who has similar interests and similar desires as me is somewhat limited. And so the quilting community is really key, and as I discussed last week, one of the reasons I quilt is to keep sane for my sanity. And so while quilt guilds are not necessarily a possibility for me, I still seek adult interaction is important. I still seek adult interaction. And so that's part of why I thought of this whole Periscope hop to begin with, because with Periscope, here we are having this connection, having this discussion, and I'm in rural Maine with my sick baby in the room next door, so if I need to, I can hop out and go pick him up and nurse him back to sleep. And you're across the country, maybe dinner time if you're on the West Coast, and we're talking about quilting subjects and sharing inspiration, and that's what I think is really key to the quilting community and why I seek it. Despite my proximity to quilting meetups, I have had the opportunity to be at a few in-person gatherings. The first of which was, I know, right? All the way from Japan. Is that awesome or what? The first of which is I went to QuiltCon. And so last February was my first quilt event, really. And it was mind-blowing. And one of the questions that we're throwing around today is, what do you get from your quilting community and your in-person interaction, and what do you give? And honestly, QuiltCon was my first chance at really seeing what this whole modern quilting thing is. You know, I'd been quilting and following blogs and Instagram and that kind of thing, but when you go to an event like QuiltCon, I'm getting tingles just thinking about it. It's just almost overwhelming how much inspiration, how many people you meet. I mean, it's the first time I ever met any of my quilting friends. I met Stephanie, Yvonne, most of you. Mandy, I think I missed you. I met Daisy. I met a whole bunch of you quilters at QuiltCon in Austin, and it was just amazing to make that human connection and share inspiration and work on collaborating, bouncing ideas off each other, and really just having someone who, when you tell them all about your binding and your piecing and your quarter-inch seams not quite lining up, don't glaze over after 5 minutes and want to talk about something else. So I really enjoyed QuiltCon. I also have been fortunate enough to drop in on a couple of retreats. I haven't gone in entirety, but Samantha from A Gathering of Stitches has been organizing retreats, quilting retreats in Maine. And if you have not visited A Gathering of Stitches website, I highly recommend it. This past summer, I stopped in at the Quilters Color Weekend with Amy Butler and Heather Jones, and I really just popped in for a couple hours. I brought baby Finn, we hung out, I walked around, but just being in a room full of people creating and working with color and working with fabric, and it's really great. You've heard good things. You should be hearing great things. But I can't wait until the next one, and I can't wait to one that I can go to in entirety. But so there's something about a room full of quilters that is different than even this interaction. It's awesome. We've got a room full of quilters right here. And it's great because I am severely hard of hearing, and so this interaction where you're typing and I'm talking works perfectly. Whereas anything else other than typing back and forth, I'm kind of lost. Even in person, if there's a large group, I can't follow conversations, which is another tricky thing about in-person sewing for me. I can't converse without looking at you, but I can't sew without looking at that. So retreats and conferences and even sewing as a group has that challenge for me. But this works really well. You know, we can have the conversations. I got a chance to sew with Stephanie from Late Night Quilter. We're soul sisters across the country while at QuiltCon because I stayed with her while there. And it was really fun. And I didn't get as much sewing done as I would have on my own. But that's how any social gathering is. You get the benefit of the conversation and the benefit of sewing in a group. It's just all there together. Let's see. So the difference, retreats, conferences. I also got to go to an entire day of a slow stitching retreat, which is another, yeah, I unpick more too. Or more like I go an inch at a time. An inch? Oh, what was that? An inch? Oh, what was that? But it works out. I went to an entire day of the slow stitching retreat with Carolyn Friedlander and Sean Kimber, which was another one organized by Sam at A Gathering of Stitches, which was about an hour and a half drive from me at a camp in Maine. And it was one of the most peaceful days I've experienced in a long time. And it was, yes, she is amazing. She is amazing, and touching her work. If you're not familiar with Sean Kimber, Couchy Complete, she has this whole idea of sew smaller, which means like 3/8 of an inch. That's what inspired me for the mini quilts. I find myself making them composed of tiny pieces, but it's mind-blowing. But again, a benefit that I got from meeting her in person, seeing her work in person, getting different styles, there's just nothing beats that quilty community. Seeing Jess showed earlier a live footage of her guild meeting. That's amazing. There's nothing like that within probably a 5-mile drive from me. So unfortunately, that's just not in the cards. But you guys make my quilting community. And so it's essential. It's essential for my sanity. It's fun to have these interactions, to share our ideas, to, lift each other up. You're working on that. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I love those colors. Or I really like how you put that piece there. Thank you for the heads up, Krista. Krista's next. Krista Quilt. So if you don't follow her, click on her name, follow. She's up next. But yeah, I really think that quilting community is really essential because anything you do, I think it's part of the human connection. Anything you do, you want to share it. Thank you. What log cabins? Trying to see where my actual house. But yeah, quilting community is essential, and I thank all of you because you are my guild. You are my quilt guild, but I also definitely recommend seeking in-person quilting and creating if at all possible, because there's just something about being there. Oh, Finn's log cabin blocks. Those are really fun. Yes. Right. You see the way they sew, you see the way they do something, the way they set everything up, and that gives you ideas. All right, I'm going to switch you back to the schedule so you know where you're going next. Krista's getting ready. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for being my quilting community. These Periscope hops are really awesome. A highlight of my day. Fruit flies all over the place. And I hope you'll join us next week where we talk about yet another quilty subject and hop from room to room. Here's the schedule for you. I'm Kitty from Night Quilter. And next you're going to Krista Quilts. I'll see you there. Bye, Orpha. Bye, everyone. Great to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from Japan. I think you win. Love you guys. Good night.